No, no. Yeah. The other Russian level. Wait, one minute. Good morning. Good morning. Right? Good morning, sir. Okay. Good morning from Karachi, and today we have a very good webinar with Mikhail TALEB HACINE. I think I pronounced the good correct name.
Fairly well.
We have a very unique lecture. Today we have a webinar on the Silk Road. Silk Road is a very old Silk Road where the states were linked and were doing trade on that route from China, Central Asia, and Eurasia. Today we have a very good, very unique person. Today we invited because he's a basically locomotive engineering managers. He have very vast experience on locomotives in railway. Especially he visited several times Central Asia, Eurasia. I impressed his vlogs because he visited different Central Asian states. He made very unique and historical vlogs on the Silk Road. So that's why we invited Mikhail TALEB HACINE. He's French based he's from Paris. He did MBA and have a short. He also knows the Russian language, and yes, he did MBA from University of Paris Dauphine. And another introduction, Mr. Mikhail will introduce yourself. So, Mike, is over to you. You can start your lecture. I already shared your presentation with my students. He have some questions. Definitely, they will ask after your lecture. And this lecture will around 40 to 50 minutes. After 20 to 30 minutes, we have. See. अभी सामने है ना इधर आना भेज दो WhatsApp नहीं हो सकता है
Yes. Sorry, my apologies, doctor. I had some issue with internet.
So you can start and first introduce yourself. Short introduction.
Thank you so much, doctor. Good morning or good afternoon, good early afternoon to you all. My greetings to you from Versailles here in France. Thank you so much for this invitation. I'm really happy to share with you this fascination with the Silk Roads, my passion for the railway industry, and it's really honoring for me to speak here with your institution. So thank you again, Dr. Javait, for your trust and this invitation. I'm really humbled and honored. To introduce myself, I've been working in the railway industry for the last 12 years. I manage an engineering entity that is in charge of the maintenance of locomotives. And I have developed for the last few years a great fascination with the Silk Roads, with Eurasia, and this has been shaping my entire interest in terms of reading, traveling, and also sense of purpose, because I want to dedicate myself later on in my life to working for this greater connectivity in Eurasia, in Central Asia, to reviving the Silk Roads, and to contribute to this very historical enterprise, and to bring something with what I've learned here in France in the railway industry, to tap into this potential of economical and social development growth within Eurasia. So that's me in a nutshell, I would say. So, yes, in the discussion that we had prior to this presentation with Dr. Javed, Dr. Javed insisted that he wanted, what interested him the most is that I share my fascination with history and why I believe history is so important. So it is going to be the main theme of this lecture and presentation. It will be why history is important to understand the challenges of your country, within Eurasia, how it's important to achieve this greater connectivity that would benefit Pakistan, that would allow you to use your full potential for economic growth, and this potential that comes from your very strategic position in Asia, and why this history will make you stronger into achieving this vision of Pakistan 2030. I chose one very specific picture to illustrate this introduction. This is an extract from the video of your national anthem, which I find extremely interesting. I find it extremely interesting that Pakistan has chosen this picture of railways to illustrate your national anthem. And therefore, since I'm in the railway industry, I will insist on why railway industry is specifically important for the challenges that you have in Pakistan. So why history is important? Personally, I always had this fascination with history, but I think history brings us to what makes us specific and unique. We have this unique characteristic as humans. We are not merely living in the time, we are building for generations to come. We think of ourselves as a bridge of time. We bridge past, present, and future. This is something very characteristic. And the more we are interested in history, the more we use history to build the future, I believe, the more we are close to this characteristic of us as humans, as a builder of future civilizations. So if you look into history, obviously the Silk Road comes into mind. This is this great phenomenon that connected vast areas of Eurasia within this amazing complexity of civilization, cultures, faith. Nothing has shaped, I believe, Eurasia as much as this history of the Silk Roads. And if I take a closer perspective from Pakistan's point of view, Dr. Javed insisted that Pakistan and a city like Peshawar, for instance, has for long been this hub between Central Asia and South Asia. So if you look into history and you grasp the full importance of these Silk Roads, you realize that when you are working for this, improving this connectivity, building infrastructure, building railways to connect Pakistan with Central Asia, maybe even connect Russia with the Arabian Sea. I must say, when I was reading your book, Dr. Javed, I didn't realize that it would have this geopolitical importance in terms of connecting Russia with the Arabian Sea. So all this connectivity you'll be working on, it won't be just in terms of economic and social development. You are taking part, when you are reviving these Silk Roads with this greater connectivity, you are taking part in something that has a historical and civilizational meaning. And when you understand that, you get closer to this sense of purpose, of our purpose as humans, that we are building for future generations, that we are building history, that we are building the future. And you as students, as future leaders, as future persons engaged in international relations, as future persons engaged in building this vision for your country, if you get this purpose, you have all the skills, you have all the competencies, you have the history, you have everything. But once you have this bigger sense of purpose, I believe you will be even more engaged into these important projects of connectivity. And when it comes to this purpose of history, I find something extremely interesting in the national anthem, that is, we are interpreter of our past, glory of our present, inspiration of our future. I couldn't think of any better source of inspiration and emphasis on this importance of building time. The second aspect I would like to insist on in terms of this Silk Road, what is happening right now with those Silk Roads is that uh, there is a global reconfiguration. Asia is on the rise. We feel it even here in Europe. We know that growth and development, there is a rebalance of power, of economical importance, of technological contribution as well towards Asia. China is contributing to this Belt and Road Initiative to gain its earlier place as a civilization state. And you too, I believe, in Pakistan, you see this opportunity of this new Belt and Road Initiative and this new Silk Roads to have a better position on the front stage of the global stage. So this is all what would give you, I believe, an even higher resolve. You are working to revive past glories and within this global rise of Asia. And last point for me that makes history so important is that Dr. Javed insisted on this. You are, of course, fully engaged in developing Pakistan, in getting all the potential that you have in Pakistan. But this national goal, this national vision that you have for your country is only possible if there is a regional and a continental movement in Eurasia. So within this interdependence that we have now, to achieve this national vision, you have to achieve a regional vision, and you have to work with your partners in Central Asia and elsewhere. And you have to build these cultural bridges. We talked about geographical bridges with infrastructure. We talked about these time bridges between past, present, and future. And we also have to talk with these human bridges. You have to connect to people in Central Asia. You have to understand their history. You have to understand, you need to understand their perspective on culture, how they see their place of their country in the world, what is important in their culture, what you have in common with their culture, and what differences you may have. And the best way to get into this is to understand their history, to get interested in their history, to know what is important for them, and what is important for them and is also important for you, and what might be specific in their expectations and their vision of the world. Uh, in my personal opinion, even if you can't travel, just dive into books of history of these countries. You will get such a rich insight on what is important for these countries. And I'm going to take two examples of Tajikistan and Uzbekistan, countries that I visited many times. Tajikistan, if you are visiting the capital of Tajikistan, Dushanbe, there is one thing that I found particularly striking is this Persian heritage. Everything is monumental in Dushanbe and Tajikistan. Everything is a memory to this, especially this very historical figure that is Ismail Somoni, who had a major contribution to art, to Tajik culture, to science, etc., and this entire radiation of Tajikistan within Central Asia. So everything is monumental. Everything sends back to this Persian heritage. And I believe if I were in your position and I had to build bridges with Tajikistan, I would always keep in mind that I am talking with a country, with people who have a very, very important view of their history. They believe in monumental projects because they have this Persian heritage. And ever since the end of the Soviet Union, they had these very hard times of, they had a civil war, unfortunately. Now the country is doing a lot better. So it's a country that it prides itself in its new sovereignty, in its Persian, once again, monumental heritage, a major contribution to sciences, culture, language, with the poet like Rudaki. And if you take a look at the elements of speech of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Tajikistan, they say, after 1,100 years of pivot of history, this 1,100 years, it relates to this time when they were at their apex of their glory within Central Asia in the time of Ismail Somoni. we Tajik again are facing with the task of taking our rightful place in the world community. And it has to be an important place. So I believe when you are interested in the history of Tajikistan and its importance, you will emphasize in your cooperation project with Tajikistan that everything you do with them must help them to regain their rightful place in the world community and stay faithful to this history of monumental Persian heritage. If I take the example of Uzbekistan, we find some common elements. As I said, you always have some common elements and some differences. Uh, Uzbekistan is really proud of افتخار إنسان مستقل Uzbekistan. They are really proud of their newly independence, and they pride themselves in that they have this major cities of the Silk Roads. When you think of Silk Roads, if you have basic knowledge of the Silk Roads, you think of Samarkand and Bukhara, which were places of science, of culture, of religion, etc. So I think Uzbekistanis have a different perspective in that they pride themselves. They had these major urban centers of the Silk Roads, and from it they derive some sort of a specific sense of unicity. In the words of their former president, he said, "This world is vast. There are many countries, but our Uzbekistan is unique. This wonderful and sacred land was created for us. This thought should inspire all our hearts and provide the reason for our lives." When you read this word and when you visit Uzbekistan, you understand how unique they feel, rightfully so. Every country is unique, as he said, but every country has a different sense of the unique. So if you are working with Uzbekistan, and if you want to build this cultural bridges, keep in mind this importance of their history for them. And since I was speaking of railways, let's jump to the next topic. I'm not objective, obviously, when I talk about that because I'm in the industry of railways, but I generally believe that development comes with connectivity, and railways have a major role to play. As it's rightfully said in the website of the Pakistan Railways, they say we are the lifeline of this country. But yet still, I think you have some major challenges to achieve this Trans-Afghan Railway, achieve this China-Pakistan economic corridor. Why I believe that railways are, beside it being my industry, why I believe it's the best way for you to achieve this connectivity. And I was speaking recently with some Pakistani people from Lahore, and they were talking about this smog situation. And yes, the best advantage of railways is that it's better for the environment. You have less particle emissions, less CO2, less land consumption. I don't having a lot of land is not an issue in Eurasia, but still, you could save land by using railways rather than building highways and roads. And 50 trucks can be replaced by one locomotive. So just imagine the impact for your communities that live along those roads, that instead of having 50 trucks with all these greenhouse gases, you could replace it with one locomotive using electricity, green electricity, and energy coming from somewhere else from Central Asia. So that's why I believe that railways are one of the best, if not the best way to achieve this greater connectivity in Eurasia. And I look forward to travel across Pakistan with your railways. And this is, it gives you a better connection, I believe, to the environment. And it's an industry that creates a tremendous amount of job. If you develop railways, you're going to have to train technicians, engineers. You're going to develop subcontracting for this railway industry. You're going to train some highly skilled workforce. Dr. Javed gave this very interesting example of how Uzbekistan is now training Afghani engineers to take care of this future Trans-Afghan railway program. So, but yet it is still challenging, and I thought I would put it in perspective with what Europe has achieved. Europe has been working on developing this connectivity of railways for freight even since the early 90s. From 1991 to 2016, there have been many regulations to make sure it would be easier to connect points in Europe with railways. Um, this brings to this importance of having the right regulations, the right regulatory frameworks, and to have institutions that are in a position to sustain this development, to organize this industry, to organize this connectivity. If you take only some major milestones in this development of European regulation in terms of railways, starting from 2004, we started separate the infrastructure from the companies that actually operate on this infrastructure to have a clearer way of defining everyone's responsibilities and achieve a better performance. And it took from 1991 to 2016 to draft this major European railway freight corridors that are supposed to work as arteries of freight between the entire Europe. Uh, it's still not perfect. We still deal with many challenges. A few years ago, we had an incident right here, and for weeks we had this entire flow of goods paralyzed between those major Dutch ports and southern Italy and southern Germany. We had to figure out some ways, and even within this network that seems extremely developed, that seems extremely resilient, prepared, and we are in a region when there is a commonality of values. We're talking about Western Europe, not the same language in every country, of course, but we are very close in terms of cultures and values. And still, it was really challenging to rebalance all these traffics to other areas. And this is for me important as to emphasize the role that institutions have, that regulations have to achieve this greater connectivity for you. And considering that what is challenging in Europe is maybe 4, 5, or 10 times more challenging for you in Eurasia. Pakistan is basically the size of both France and Germany together. So we are talking about a completely different scale. We're talking about a complete different dimension in terms of a variety of languages, cultures, institutions, visions of the world, etc. This is a picture I took in the Kazakhstan Railway Museum in Almaty, which is this major hub in here that connects Kazakhstan with China, Kyrgyzstan, and which could serve as a gate for you as well to further connecting with the north in the northern corridor. I'm not sure this map is completely up to date. I think the Pakistan Railway has gone much beyond this. But it's still interesting for me to look into this map and get a grasp of the scale we're talking about. So this is a huge, this is a tremendous challenge. This is a challenge of historical and civilizational proportion that you are engaged in. I think you are very lucky to be actors on the first line of this new challenges for your country for reviving those Silk Roads. And I'm thankful for Dr. Javed to giving me this opportunity to share with you why I believe that the more you will get into history, the more sense of purpose you will feel in these projects, and the more resolve you will get into achieving this greater connectivity. Thank you so much. I've reached, sorry. There are some few books that I could recommend for you, books that have been extremely enriching for me. Bridging Horizons, definitely. Go ahead and read it. If you want a global picture of these Silk Roads, of the driving forces that shaped those Silk Roads, that shaped Eurasia, I think this book from Peter Frankopan is extremely interesting. Empires of Eurasia is also extremely interesting because it also insists on this importance of history. Countries like Russia, China, Iran, and Turkey, they are living in a new age, but they are still connected to their past as former empires. So this shapes the way they act, this shapes the way the population thinks, and this will shape also the way you will cooperate with them on a regional level to realize and to achieve your national goals. And finally, this is the book that gave me this passion of Eurasia like 5 years ago. This Bruno Macais is a former foreign minister of Portugal, and he went to a travel all across Eurasia, and he analyzed this Belt and Road Initiative by giving insights into the history and culture and vision of every country. So this is one work I definitely recommend for you. So thank you very much for your attention. I really look forward to your questions, and I hope I've been as faithful as possible when I was giving information about Pakistan, hopefully.
Thank you, Mikhail Taleb. Thank you so much. Very significant and very informative lecture for our students, because of my students who are also studying Central Asia and also very concerned about regional connectivity between Pakistan and Central Asia. If I notice you presented some map of railways, Pakistan and Central Asia, missing part of, basically we are not connected with the Central Asia through rail. I also mentioned in my book, you also are expert of railway. I think I start from my side. I have a little question about if Pakistan Trans-Afghan railway line, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Uzbekistan, they plan to establish a rail to connect Peshawar and to Uzbekistan's border. So they have three countries. They are using different gauges. Pakistan using British gauges, Central Asian state, Uzbekistan is using Russian gauge, and Afghanistan using standard gauge. So how to mitigate, how to manage this country about the gauges?
In my opinion, there are two answers to this challenge on different scales. We also still deal with these issues here in Europe. Spain has its special gauge and France has its standard gauge. So we now have some technical solutions that are getting better and better. Spanish people have been expert in terms of these technical solutions that allow you to adapt gauge without changing your rolling stock. You don't need to change the locomotive or the wagon. You can just adapt, and they have even developed solutions that allow to travel between this Russian gauge and European gauge. This is a very short-term and technical solution for it. But the only solution, I believe, Europe has been engaged ever since the early 90s into trying to reduce this national technical specific rules into harmonizing it into one single specific set of European rules, including gauges, signaling equipment, etc. In my opinion, the only solution is an institutional solution in terms of how you build this cooperation, in terms of how you include these technical challenges from the get-go in building those cooperation projects with Afghanistan, Pakistan, etc. We have technical solutions, they alleviate, but at the end, it's about how you work together all as Eurasian countries to build this unified network of railways.
My students have some questions. They will ask one by one. Who will ask first one?
My question is that what steps are needed to improve regional cooperation among Central Asian countries?
Are you
Audible?
You are a bit distant. If you can get closer to the microphone, please.
Yes, you can ask.
Okay, so my question is that what steps are needed to improve regional cooperation among Central Asian countries to leverage their Silk Road potential?
Again.
The important step, the first important step is that for you future leaders of this international relations, and that was the point I think of the entire presentation, is to really understand every country's own national perspective on these regional and Eurasian projects of cooperation. And when then you realize that, of course, there are some specificities for each country, but I believe there is this common driver for all of you Eurasian countries, or a set of common goals: sovereignty, development, global reconfiguration, getting your rightful place in the global stage. So I always start with the people who are shaping this project, which is students like you in international relations. Get into history, uh, build this build this purpose, and connect in this way with other leaders like you in Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, and Afghanistan, uh, because we're talking about projects that will be decades long. So we have to start from the ground, which is you, and the way you're gonna connect and build this common project with future leaders. This is for me like the very first, very first step. And the second step would be get the best practices. Look at examples that we have in Europe and elsewhere in terms of regional integration. Learn from the mistakes we have made. You have an even greater challenge because Europe has achieved this level of almost federalism of political integration. There is basically the European laws. They are higher than national laws. I don't think this is something that would happen in Eurasia because there is this sense of the nation. I don't think we are going toward this complete merger or political integration, but there is opportunities in it. There's opportunities is that you will be more flexible in building this cooperation from one country to one country, sometimes three countries. Sometimes it's going to be Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, India. Sometimes it's going to be just you, Pakistan, Tajikistan, and Afghanistan. So this gives you more flexibility into building this. But as much as you will be working sometimes in, how can I put this? In multilateral initiatives with 2 or 3 countries, always keep in mind this global goal that can only be understood in Eurasian terms and at a Eurasian scale.
So can I ask another question?
Yes, yes, sure, sure. Lovely. Lovely.
Okay. So what opportunities exist for Central Asian nations to integrate further into a global market throughout the Silk Road or by using Silk Road?
The opportunities you have is first the access to this the first is access to the global markets, and in terms of energy, in terms of trading goods, in terms of building this interdependence, because building this interdependence with neighboring Eurasian countries, this will also contribute to better stability, to better security and more peace. If I had to summarize it, getting more involved in this global stage in terms of trade, better in being integrated in global markets, is this better opportunity for trades, selling energy, selling goods, selling expertise, because from what I see, there is an incredible amount of technical expertise and knowledge within this entire region. Kazakhstan's universities are impressive. The technical expertise they inherited and kept developing from the times of the Soviet Union are extremely impressive. Pakistan belongs to the few countries that have this strategic capacity to, in terms of defense, which says a lot about the technical expertise. So I believe there is a huge potential of technical expertise and trade for these countries. Accessing the global markets will give them better export opportunities, and within the same time they will put them in the map, and this interdependence will help create even more stability and even more prosperity.
Yes, next one. Yes. Muhammad Anis.
Hello, sir. This is Anis. Sir, as we know, world is moving from diesel engine to electric engine to contribute the climate change. And Pakistan is still using diesel engine. And in order to your proposal, how does Pakistan Railways diesel engine usage impact climate change? And what are the initiatives?
Yes, that's a really interesting point. We still, even in Europe, we are still using diesel engines within our railways because electrifying everything is extremely expensive. So even when Europe develops this new network, they focus on the main corridors because you don't have all the investments to improve the signaling in all for France or electrify all of France. So what we are doing now, so we still use diesel engines, but even when you are using a diesel engine in a locomotive, it is still better in terms of environment than using 50 trucks. So even a diesel locomotive is still better than having 50 trucks on the roads. In terms of efficiency, energy consumption, that is better. What we are doing now in Europe to try to improve the environmental footprint of these diesel engines is that we are trying alternative diesels. There is a lot of research in terms of making hybrid locomotives that mix diesel and electricity. It's a beginning field, and it's then again, this gives me the opportunity to stress on this institutional capacity. When you usually buy a locomotive here in Europe, you usually use it for like 40 years. So this is a very long-term investment. It's a heavy investment in terms of locomotives and in terms of infrastructure. So you really have to think on a long-term scale and build the institutions that are able to build this cooperation projects with your neighbors for the 20, 30 years to go before anyone engages in this kind of massive investments. So there is a lot of research. We not yet have the perfect solution in terms of diesel locomotives, but it is still better. We are improving their cleanliness in terms of gas emissions. And at the end of the day, it is still a better option than having trucks on the road.
Yes, yes. Sir, as we are developing country, we have a limited budget. If we don't invest in this sector, we cannot invest in this sector. And what are the rapid response initiative would you propose to initiate to contribute the overcome this climate change disaster?
Can you repeat, please? Sorry, my friend, I didn't hear quite right. Can you just repeat the last part of his sentence? Sorry. Thank you so much.
Sir, I think that we are a developing country and we have a limited budget. If we cannot invest in this sector to transform from diesel to electrified engines, then what are the rapid response initiative would you propose to overcome this disaster?
Yeah. If you have a hard time finding the right investment to transition from these diesel engines to these electrical engines, you can still look into technical alternatives. We are talking about biodiesels, different diesels made of recycled waste that improve the environmental footprint. Germany is going ahead with this project. And actually, there is one advantage that we have is when others are still not mature in terms of technology, this gives the opportunity for countries like Pakistan to jump right on a technology that is mature and ready to use without dealing with all the trial and error that you may have when you are developing these technologies from early on. So I would definitely look into diesel alternatives. They exist. They are from recycled waste. They don't necessarily have to be made with crops that could rather be used for food, which is absolutely shocking to me that we would use some cereals to produce fuels. And still focus on, how can I say this? Yeah, I would think use the technical solutions at hand. Use the technical solutions and keep a close eye on what is happening elsewhere to jump on any technology that becomes mature and economically viable and affordable in terms of investment.
Yes. Hello, sir.
Hello.
Sir, question is that in today's world, what we see many projects or the routes of connectivity are based on economy or trade related activities, but less on cultural aspects. But however, when we look at the Silk Road, we see that it had, besides trade, it had also a profound impact on culture and also religion. So question is that why is it that such cultural exchange was prevalent in the past but not now?
So a question, if I understand correctly, please, is that why did it work in the past and it's not working now? That's it? Why it is more difficult to do it now? Is that it?
So my question is that in today's world, when we see the many projects or the routes of connectivity are based on economy or trade related activities, but less on cultural aspects. But however, when we look at the Silk Road, we see that besides trade, it has also a profound impact on culture and also on religion. So question is that why it is that it why it is why is it that such cultural exchange was prevalent in the past but not now?
This focus in culture and religion focus. In the past, the Silk Road was connected through different religions, different cultures, different languages. They were connected, well connected. Right now, after the modern states, trade connectivity is increasing, economic connectivity is increasing. They right now different cultures, different languages, religions. They are not connected.
It's a very interesting question. I think I think we are living in a time of increased international tensions that don't make it easy for us to go beyond this cultural, historical, or religious differences. This is a major problem that we have now. But still, I would try to look at it from an optimistic point of view. I think we have no choice. Of course, for us humans, in an ideal world, differences wouldn't be a problem. This is the ideal world, but we are humanly, as humans, we have this bias that we have a hard time sometimes dealing with differences. But I think we have right now no choice but to go beyond these differences, and this is where culture and history are extremely important. And then again, this is important for you, future leaders, because you have this ability to go beyond these differences and understand what you have in common with these countries, and you will see that you have a lot more in common as humans. Of course, you have different languages, different religions, different faiths, different visions of the world. But at the end of the day, what brings you together also, what also brings you together is that you are all looking to improve your economic situation, improve social situation. So I believe you have much more in common than might be differences. So I would say in a very pragmatic way, okay, we might frame right now this Silk Road only in terms of economic flows and in terms of trade. But if this motivation is enough and you have enough in common considering this economic development, and if it helps you and encourages you to go over those differences, then be very pragmatic, focus on economic and development, understand the historical and cultural background, and you'll see that you have a lot more in common that there might be differences with your neighbors and partners in Central Asia.
Assalamu alaikum, sir. This is Iram. My question, I'm audible? This is Iram, sir. My question is regarding, as we know that in the South Asian region, the countries in the South Asian region, they face political issues and internal issues. In such scenario, how this new Silk Road will be beneficiary for the states that are involved, particularly Pakistan, that is facing huge challenges, whether it is political issues or internal issues, as we see that CPEC or the digital new Silk Road that are also facing challenges. So how these things can be resolved and how the Pakistan and the Central Asian states can collaborate and enhance the regional connectivity, regional integration in the South Asia region.
I don't have that much knowledge of the internal context of Pakistan. I wouldn't give any appreciation of that. I wouldn't meddle in your like internal affairs as a sovereign country. I must say I don't know what's the political situation in Pakistan. But this kind of brings me to the question that we had before. Of course, you have some political situations. Of course, you need some time, political stability to get into this major projects of infrastructure and investment. But it's always like this question, do you need political stability to create prosperity? Or maybe can you, through prosperity and interdependence, build this political stability? Which way do you start? So for me, this is a complicated question that has no definite answer. So whatever political issues you might have, whatever political differences might exist on the international stage with your neighbors, always focus on what prosperity will create, what these infrastructure projects will create, and political stability and political will come of it. At the end of the day, we are all pragmatic humans, and I think whatever the political differences you might have in Pakistan, you only have motivated nationals, motivated people to develop their country. So if you create the condition and pragmatic and rational conditions for development and prosperity, I think it will not erase political differences and political issues, but at least it will help everyone focus on what you are actually and factually creating as conditions for a better prosperity.
Yes.
Thank you so much, sir.
You're
We
welcome.
have some online, few colleagues are online. If someone want to ask a question, please raise. I will allow and open the mic. If you have a question, please. Meanwhile, we have some other questions. Please, Iram, you can ask.
Sir, as we know that 1877 German geographer Ferdinand, he used the term Silk Road to describe these trade routes between South Asia or Eurasia. So what was the oldest name of this Silk Road before using this term?
Can you just please repeat, please? Sorry, I have some connection issues sometimes.
Her question was, actually, she asked about the German geographer Ferdinand when, yes, he used the term Silk Road first time in 1877. She asked, what is the name of the Silk Road? Is there any name of before this name? Because first time in the history, he used the name Silk Road 1877.
It's a very interesting question. I can't say if there were any names before. I would look into this. I would look into this personally and get back to Dr. Javed and to you later if I can to see if there was like any name before that. I'm not so sure if people before this German geographer had given it any specific name. I would need to get back to you, please.
Actually, why we say the used Silk Road? Because the people, the traders, doing trade of the silk trade. Because silk from China to Central Asia to Eurasia, you said right before this one is not specific name we use this one, and because we normally people say silk, the silk people are doing business, silk traders. So we have another question from Yusuf. Yes, please.
Sir, thank you, sir. So my question about the Pakistan connectivity through Central Asia. As we see that the Pakistan tried to connect with Central Asia through different initiatives like Taki project and the Trans-Afghan railways, but due to different national or international factors, the efforts are still in pending and we are not succeed in the initiative. So how we take the emergency steps to overcome these challenges?
Sorry, Dr. Javed, if you can repeat the question, please. I have this short ruptures of connection.
Okay, sir, I can repeat.
Yes,
My
thank you so much.
My question about Pakistan tried in the history to connect with Central Asia through different initiatives like TAPI projects and the Trans-Afghan Railways. But the efforts are still in pending, and we are not almost succeed in the initiatives through different national and international factors. So, how would we take the emergency steps to overcome these challenges as a Pakistani?
That's an interesting question. Emergency step to finally achieve success within this project. That may be a question that surpasses my my competencies in terms of international relations. What emergency steps to I think it all stems from your I think it all stems as everything else from people and from you as future leaders. I think it's I think the challenge is for you to start this movement by connecting also to other leaders in these other countries or future leaders in these other countries that are in charge or will be in charge of this project. I don't know the specifics of the TAPI project that you cited, but definitely it's dealing with a lot of technical. I know it hasn't gone as fast as was expected or needed. Yeah, my sole advice, my sole proposition as an emergency measure, except for high-level meetings between the leaders of these countries, seeing how you can lobby or defend this project within the different multilateral initiatives that you have, the Cooperation Organization of Shanghai, the Organization of the Turkish World. There are so many right now multilateral initiatives and forums where you can advocate for this project. It's all about having the national and international leadership focusing on this. And of course, we can talk about emergency, but everything you were talking about this project, this our project that takes decades and decades to be done. And the first emergency is to make sure that the leaders that we have, that the future leaders that you are, that are trained right now, universities like the Karachi University, is to get from right now engaged into this infrastructure project. The people who have achieved this advancing of regulations, of achieving these projects of European connectivity, are people that have started working on this like 30 or maybe 40 years ago. So there is one single emergency in 1991, 2001, 2004, is that the generation that will be in charge within 5-10 years fully grasp these challenges and gets the importance of patience. This is one value of the Silk Roads, is patience.
Thank you. We have another questions from online audience. Mr. Rana Ali want to ask a question. Please turn on your mic and ask your question. Yes, Rana Ali, if you listen me, you can turn on your mic and ask your question, please.
Am I audible?
We're hearing you, sir.
Am I audible?
Yeah, we hear you. Yes.
Okay, thank you
Yes,
very
please
much.
ask your question.
This is Alison here. Look, I want to ask a question about the BRI project. As China's BRI project is considering the revival of Silk Road, and fortunately and unfortunately, we are a part of this project. And we are considering how China is working in Pakistan. We're issuing technological and other, and even working on the coal projects. So we are talking about the climate resilient projects and how Pakistan can enhance their regional connectivity through their electrical engines of the railways through BRI, like moving toward the railways. So how Pakistan can ensure this strategically by the China Corporation of China?
Yeah, cooperating with the Chinese project, they bring a lot, but also bring their complexities for the national states in terms of how you handle and how you cooperate with China on this project. I was born and lived a long time in Algeria, and China has been really present in Algeria in terms of projects. and they obviously bring their challenges and their questions. I think the one way one way for Pakistan to benefit from these Chinese initiatives to advance this electrification and development of your railways is to make full use of your strategic position. The strategic position, what Pakistan would bring to Eurasia and what Pakistan would bring in this connectivity is the leverage that you have so as to shape these cooperation projects with China to be directed toward the interests of Pakistan. So if it's in the interest of Pakistan to advance to railways, cleaner railways, in this cooperation with China, you Pakistanis can insist on this and use your leverage because you have an incredible leverage. I don't know if China needs Pakistan more than Pakistan needs China, but China and the overall success of this Belt and Road Initiative, it needs Pakistan. African countries are doing the same. Everyone is competing for the interest of African countries in terms who is going to advance his project. Russia is competing, China is competing, the European Union is competing, the United States are competing, and the African countries have understood that at the end of the day, when it has turned into this competition of global powers, they have the leverage. So try to shape as much as possible these cooperation projects, especially railway projects with China, so as to direct them in the way you want, which is modern railways, clean railways, without at any point endangering or affecting your own sovereignty.
Yes. Next one.
Sir, what will be the outcomes of modern Silk Road culturally on Pakistan as due to globalization and colonial period by Western culture?
That's really interesting. These new Silk Roads, they will allow for the travel of goods, but they will also allow for the travel of person. I think Dr. Javed insisted very much on that in his book, that you need right now more human connections. You need to build more human bridges and connections. So when you have a modern infrastructure that makes it easy to travel around Central Asia, the very fact that I had the chance to visit countries like Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan and travel through them, it is because I had this infrastructure, is because I could connect with people in these countries. So at the very moment you have this infrastructure that makes it easy to move around Central Asia, you will automatically create this human and cultural connections in the area. If you could please repeat the second part of your question, you were talking about Western influence, I believe.
Pakistan is influenced by Western culture.
Is Pakistan influenced by Western culture? I think.
Sir, what will be the outcomes of modern Silk Road culturally on Pakistan as due to globalization and colonial period, Pakistan is influenced by Western culture?
I think that the influence of these Silk Roads is that it will make for easier connection with other cultures. And from my perspective, when you connect with other cultures, at the end of the day, it doesn't erase your own culture. I think it gives you a better understanding of your own culture. So I think it will reinforce this cultural and national soul of Pakistan, that you have better connections to other countries. When it comes to the impact of this globalization, yeah, certainly these Silk Roads are going to change maybe the way companies operate. You're going to get some different practices. You're going to adapt to work with companies in distant part of the world thanks to the Silk Roads. But at the end of the day, I truly believe that these projects, they can only enhance and strengthen the national culture. I always like to think that maybe the culture I know the least about is my own culture. So when I'm understanding the other histories and other cultures, this makes me understand my culture, my own culture better. So have these connectivity projects, increase interactions with people from Central Asia, China, and beyond, and you will have an even clearer and stronger understanding of what makes your country, your culture, and history unique.
One student asked about Chinese projects as like CPEC and other are these projects are helpful or beneficial to revive the Silk Road?
Yeah, I think they are. China now has this ability. It has this both this financial ability to engage in those massive investment projects, massive infrastructure projects, and China being China, this great civilization, this great country, it has maybe this unique ability to engineer this projects of the Belt and Road initiatives. Bruno Mackays, in his book, he says that this Belt and Road initiative is maybe the most historically complex exercise of political engineering, not only technical engineering, but it is also an exercise of political engineering. So I think that China is in a unique position. Maybe China is the only one in this continent for the moment that can implement such a vision, that has the finances for it, and the political and the technical engineering for it. So yeah, it will benefit every country that that is part of this, Pakistan to the CPEC. But as long as you use your full leverage to make sure that it's not only in China's interest, but it has also to be in Pakistan's interest. It must be definitely a win-win situation for both parties.
Do you have any questions? Okay, I think we should, it's online have a question, otherwise we'll close. Do you have a question? Come, please, come. We have one question, and after that, I will ask your last question, then we'll end the session.
No
Okay,
problem.
yes, we can ask.
My pleasure.
Yes.
Hello, sir. Vijay. So basically, my question is related to Gilgit-Baltistan because, India claiming Gilgit-Baltistan as his own her own territory. Issue is just recent. I would like to share a little incident happened that was in Champion Trophy is going to schedule in Pakistan, but the tour of these trophy was scheduled in Skardu and Hunza as well. But India forced to withdraw these cities from tour list. So this is a simple, a very minor event. But if the Silk Road is a very enormous project, so will India tolerate these? Will India allow these project? And will India never be the risk, security risk for this project?
That's a very interesting question. I'm not an expert on the India-China relations or India-Pakistan relations, but what I think is that Pakistan, due its strategic capacity, due its strategic position, is in a position to make sure that these projects work. I don't think India by itself or any other actor would have the power to make these projects derail. Of course, you cited this events of tension, but I truly don't believe that anything could stop this movement except for China and Pakistan.
As you visited several Central Asian states, Eurasian states, my students, me also watched your some vlogs. That was very interesting, very historical, because your first-hand experience about Central Asian states. In the past, if the connectivity, if I talk about the connectivity, regional connectivity, people-to-people connectivity is very important. Right now, in the past, if we look in the past, when the Mughal era, when the Mughal also came from Afghanistan and Central Asia, that was a part of Central Asia, Khanate states, yes, Turk states. So the region was well connected. South Asian, even subcontinent was connected with the Central Asian states. And when the British rule started in Pakistan subcontinent, and same time the Imperial Russia occupied Central Asian Khanate states. That after that the Great Game has had started. The both regions had disconnected. So the people-to-people connectivity that was in the past, they were well connected, but right now they are not connected. because civil projects, I also, thank you so much, you read my books. I mentioned around 16 projects they are working, Pakistan and Central Asia, but no any single project did not, but no any single project yet did not complete right now. So how, the culture are saying, even food, even I watched your vlogs, even some other Central Asian people who made the vlogs, we noticed the food, the dress, many things are common between Pakistan, even subcontinent, Afghanistan, Central Asia, but people are right now disconnected. So what do you think about the people are thinking about the similar, but in the past they were connected, but right now they are not connected. So what should we do as a people to people connect to enhance the people to people connectivity?
Yeah, I believe, as you said, it is this former great game and this overall imperial wars that have disrupted this connectivity that existed before. And my impression when I talk to people is that these people that lost connectivity, they realized that they lost this connectivity because of this imperial games and rivalries. I think the more as people we encourage this connectivity, we make people conscious that they lost this connectivity because of these imperial rivalries, and that there is now much more in common. There is a lot more in common when you forget about what imperialism has done. There is a lot more in common between Afghanistan and Pakistan to achieve together. There are higher stakes than differences. One thing that might not help is that since most of these countries of Central Asia, they are newly independent, so there is a strong national feeling, and sometimes this strong national feeling does not help in international cooperation, etc. But the more you will connect, the more you will understand each and everyone's history, the more you realize that before this loss of connectivity, there was much more in common. The more people will be conscious of that, I think the easier it will be to restore this connectivity between Pakistan and Central Asia.
Thank you so much, Mikhail TALEB HACINE. Your lectures is very helpful to understand Silk Road and Central Asian region, especially railways connectivity. That is very important and enhanced to trade between the region. Right now, both region doesn't have any rail connectivity, but your lecture and especially my question about differences gauges, and your reply was very well. Spanish technology, and so lastly, actually in the start you didn't introduce yourself. Lastly, if you give some short introduction because you are disconnected in the start. So introduce yourself, what are you doing, your specialties, and what are you doing in Central Asia about vlogs. In few minutes, you can introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I was born in Algeria. I lived for 24 years in Algeria. I'm both Algerian and French national. I moved to France to continue my studies, and as it happens, I ended up in the railway industry, which matched my interest for travel and international relations. Right now, my work consists of managing technicians and engineers who are in charge of the maintenance of locomotives, the locomotives of Fret SNCF of my company, which is this railway state company. They operate more or less in this part of Western Europe. And since I developed this fascination, it all started from this book, The Dawn of Eurasia. And since I read that book, I had this desire to travel through Central Asia, travel through Eurasia. And at some point, I had to consider what was the best way to combine this fascination for history, for Eurasia, with my work. And there came this purpose of working for the railway connectivity in Eurasia and including Pakistan. So that's my experience. Born and raised in Algeria, studied there, continued my studies in France, went into the railway industry. try to combine fascination for history, international relations with my industry, and working toward this goal of accomplishing something or contributing to this purpose of this new connectivity.
Thank you so much. Your books, you mentioned in your slide, the books are very, very relevant to Silk Road, the region, Eurasia. If you want to understand, these books will be helpful for everyone. Thank you so much, Mikhail. We will be keeping touch you. And thank you so much. And
thank you so much. You honored me. Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone for your questions and
Okay.
invitation.
Okay, bye. And we will meet again. Thank you so much.
Bye. Thank you so much.